Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. Make sure you guys subscribe, youtube.com/Raiders Report. We are the #1 Raiders channel here on YouTube. What do I have in store for you today? I got a 6-pack of Raiders rumors that I am ready to crack open, and I'm starting it off first with Derek Carr. And is he the quarterback of the Raiders' future? I'm going to give this one 2 Chucky heads, and people are talking. Derek Carr, if you ask him, this one's 4 Chucky heads, believe it, baby. But guess what? This is my show, Derek. So, Derek sat down and he discussed his future with the Oakland Raiders, and he said that he kind of got annoyed with a lot of the rumors he heard this offseason around Kyler Murray, Drew Lock, Dwayne Haskins, and some other quarterbacks, because he said that there was a negative 47% chance that the Raiders were going to draft a quarterback. And when I think about Derek Carr, I think his best year was probably back in 2016 when he was an MVP candidate. Now, why am I giving this one only 2 Chucky heads? Because I've said it 100 times in the show, and it's literally why it says drink. 2019 is a prove-it year for Derek Carr. But if you ask Derek said this: we're not just planning for this year. I'm honestly going to be here a long time. So I hope that's okay with you guys. You have to get used to me. Now, Derek, I hope that you're here for a long time, because if you can give me 2015, 2016 Derek Carr, guess what? I'll take that every single year. Now, I think that you grew a lot as a man, and I think you grew a lot as a quarterback in 2018, dealing with, we'll say, the options that you had and dealing with a poor offensive line. The only reason why I'm a little bit hesitant to say that it's 4 Chucky heads, believe it, baby, that you're the quarterback of the future, is because when I look at your contract details, this year you're locked in. I can guarantee you're not getting cut this year, $27.4 million dead cap hit. But then you're looking at 2020. The reason why it's a prove-it year for you this year is because it's only a $5 million dead cap hit, and a 2021 only a $2.5 million dead cap hit. I'm not as crazy about the quarterbacks in 2020 as I am in 2021 when Trevor Lawrence is going to be coming out. But this is the NFL. Nobody's safe. Nobody is safe in the NFL, and if you don't perform this year, you're not going to be the quarterback of the Raiders' future. So guess what I'm going to ask everybody who's watching? Is Carr the Raiders' franchise quarterback? I want you to type a Y for yes or type N for no. So if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching this live on Facebook, facebook.com/JustWinBabyRaiders, let me know in the comment section. Y for yes, or I want you to type in N for no. Make sure you subscribe to the #1 Raiders channel here on YouTube. It's youtube.com/Raiders Report. And make sure you guys are always interacting with me on IG and Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. I also want to give a special shout out to the guys who hooked me up with this shirt. Only One Nation. If you guys want one, slide in those DMs. Mitchell Renz 365. All right, next rumor. Let's get into it. AFC West has the NFL's best quarterbacks. I'm going to give this one 3 Chucky heads, and I think this is pretty likely. When I first went over the show, I was like, oh, I think this one's 4 Chucky heads, but you'll see maybe a little bit later on. So NFL.com ranked each division based on the quarterbacks in their division. They ranked the AFC West #1. And literally in the article, it said thanks to Patrick Mahomes, thanks to Phillip Rivers, and Derek Carr. They left off a certain name, which I respect greatly. So good job, NFL.com. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to rank the quarterbacks in the AFC West. So guys, don't get mad at me, this is how I'm going to rank it. I have Patrick Mahomes at #1. I have Phillip Rivers at #2. Derek Carr #3. And then the lone guy in the back there is Joe Flacco. But this show is not about me. It's about everyone who's watching. So I want you to rank the AFC West quarterbacks: Mahomes, Rivers, Carr, and Flacco. I'll say it one more time. For me, it's literally in that order. So I want you guys, though, okay? Put it in the comment section. Rank the AFC West quarterbacks from best to worst. Can you do that for me? I sure hope so. All right, let's get into this next room here. Tyrell Williams has been the most impressive wide receiver thus far for the Raiders at OTAs. This one's 4 Chucky heads. Believe it, baby. This has been a massive pickup for the Raiders when they went out and signed this wide receiver. He's a big, tall guy. He's 6'4". He's 225 pounds. And I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do. And if you watched one of my shows, I talked about Tyrell and how he's going to be able to really impact this offense, because Mike Mayock said it, that he wants to be able to add speed. And what are you going to do? You're going to go out and you're going to get a big-time receiver like Tyrell Williams. The fact that he's been the most impressive wide receiver at OTAs also makes me excited. Now, I get it. AB hasn't been there as much as Williams, but AB's one of the hardest working dudes in the league. Like, there's no doubt about that. And now when I look at what Tyrell has done over the last 4 years, in 2016, he had a great year. 2018, people are going to be like, oh, Mitch, he started to fall off. I just think it's the way that the offense for the Chargers worked. And if Williams is already getting in that tempo with Derek, I'm really excited. So here are my 2019 stat projections for Tyrell Williams. Now, this is based on 109 targets, okay? This is also based on what Tyrell Williams has done throughout his entire career. When you take every single wide receiver 2 or second option for Derek Carr the last 5 years, it has averaged out to 109 targets. I think if you give Tyrell Williams in this offense 109 targets, 1,066 yards, 7 touchdowns with 65 catches. So I said 1,066 receiving yards for Tyrell Williams in 2019, but I want to know from everybody who's watching, how many receiving yards for Williams in 2019, who apparently for Chucky Heads, has been the best Raiders wide receiver at OTAs. Let's go to this next rumor here. Best pass blocking center in the NFL is Rodney Hudson. I'm not going to waste too much time. This one's for Chucky Heads. Believe it, baby. And I love me some Rodney Hudson, okay? So Hudson rated as the best pass blocking center according to Pro Football Focus. Gruden came out and said that Hudson is the best setter that he's ever coached. Also, this is the 4th straight year that Rodney Hudson has won PFF's award for best pass blocking center. Pass blocking. That's not overall, but pass blocking center. Maybe, Rodney, you can maybe help out some of these other players here, maybe like a Colt Miller, so Derek Carr doesn't get sacked so much, because last year was a rough year. 2018, Carr sacked 52 times. That's just way too much, right? 2017, 24 times. 2016, 18. 2015, 33. Something about that 2018 year that's different than 2017, 2016, 2015. You know what it is? FC. But that's not this next thing I'm going to tell you to do. How many sacks will the Raiders allow in 2019? They allowed 52 last year, but then 42 the 2 years before Tom Cable came over to Oakland. So how many sacks will the Raiders allow in 2019? Comment below. Let's get to the 5th rumor. Clelin Ferrell is not mean enough. This one's too Chucky Heads, and people are talking. This is the time of the year where people are going to come out and try to create headlines. And Paul Gutierrez of ESPN basically wrote that Clelin Ferrell's on-field persona is going to be tested. He also added that some wonder in the Raiders organization that if he's mean enough on the field. Now, he is right now working with the second-string defense. Arden Key's ahead of him. Also is Benson Mayowa, which I'm not going to ultimately freak out about. Now, I did say that I thought it was a little bit of a reach for them to go out and get Clelin Ferrell. But I also think Clelin Ferrell is a great fit for what these Raiders want to do. The other thing is, you know who else they say is kind of a weird or almost too nice of a guy? Russell Wilson. And I get it's totally different positions, but he's also the highest paid player in the NFL. So if being too nice gets you paid, Clelin, be nice, man, for all I care, as long as you go out and rack up some sacks. So how many sacks will the Raiders have in 2019? They only had 13 last year. I'm hoping Clelin can help improve that number, because if we end up with 13 sacks again, I'm going to go absolutely insane. So how many sacks will the Raiders have in 2019? One of the awesome things that we do here at the Raiders Report, we're always interacting, so make sure you guys subscribe, youtube.com/Raiders Report, so you guys can get on the show. Always interact with me on IG and Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365. One more thing, turn on your notifications so you know exactly when I go live. Pro tip, I'm putting people on the show who comment first. So if you don't know how to turn on the notifications, it's the little thing that looks like a bell, right? Pretty cool. Last rumor, let's get into it. Doug Martin. I saw this and I almost threw up when I read this one. Doug Martin starting at running back for the Oakland Raiders. Man, this one's tuck rule, tuck that. Like, no. So I saw this article, and I don't even know if this is a real company. It's from Touchdown Wire. I don't know who the hell they are, but they had some Joe Schmuck writing an article about the best running backs in the NFL. So he goes from first to 32nd, and he ranks every single starting running back in the NFL. And he ranked Doug Martin number 31. So I was like, okay, 31. But then he has him starting over Josh Jacobs. He also has the worst starting running back in the NFL as Leonard Fournette. Like, I'm not the biggest Leonard Fournette fan, But Doug Martin is not better than Leonard Fournette. So I was just kind of blown away by that, first off. And then also to say that Doug Martin is starting over Josh Jacobs. Doug Martin's the 4th running back on the depth chart. Like, what are you looking at? Josh Jacobs, they drafted him in the 1st round. He will be the starting running back. Jalen Richard, RB2. Chris Warren, RB3. John Gruden literally said that the reason why they brought in Doug Martin was for him to help out Josh Jacobs. So this is exactly why I'm going to ask you this question, because I'm done talking about Doug Martin. I think what he did for the Raiders last year is great, but 2019 is about Josh Jacobs. So how many carries for Jacobs in 2019? So if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm probably going to put this one up on Twitter as well. How many carries for Josh Jacobs in 2019? Now, I got one more thing to ask everyone, okay? So if you've made it this far in the video, which I appreciate when people who do, and if you're watching us live, congratulations, I want you to send me a nice little winky face. Send that to my DMs on Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365. I got something special for you. So Raider Nation, I'm expecting to see a whole bunch of people sliding in those DMs. Raider Nation, it's time for some live Q&A here on the Raiders Report, the #1 channel on YouTube. So if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on Facebook, first off, I appreciate it, but also use hashtag Raiders to get your comments on show live, and I'm going to answer them as to the best of my abilities. So again, it's use hashtag Raiders in the comments section. I want to give a shout out to everybody who is watching us live right now on YouTube. Chad, Jeff Rogers, Cam's Cavy, Keith, I see you guys. I see you down there. Dead Raider, much appreciated. So let's get into this first comment here on YouTube from somebody that's an unknown subscriber. What are your thoughts on the Raiders playing against the Bears? I think it's going to be a good game. It's kind of frustrating to say that this is a Raiders home game because, again, this is a game that's in Week 5. So you're looking at Weeks 3, Week 4, that's Colts, Vikings. Then you got the Bears. We don't play home in Oakland from Week 2 to Week 9. That's a huge layover. But the Bears are one of the best teams in the NFL. But the real storyline here with this game is Khalil Mack. And I am excited to see what the Raiders could do in London on a big stage against the Bears. If the Raiders can win this game, they're making the playoffs. At least that's what I think. All right, this next one's coming in from Callie Gonzalez. Callie, one of my most loyal watchers. Also, guys, I'm sipping on some IPAs, so if you guys want to tell me what you're drinking, I appreciate it. Who will have a better season, Chargers or Raiders? Hang on, let me get a drink. You might not like my answer. I think it's going to be the Chargers. I think the Chargers are the best team in the AFC West. I think the Raiders will have a good year, but I think from top to bottom, you look at quarterback, running back, wide receiver core, and you're looking at just the overall defense. The defense is the real separator there for me. I think the Chargers are the better team. If you guys get mad at me, I'm sorry. I'm just doing my my job here. Also, what's up, man? So I got to hang out with Oso this past weekend at the event here in Dallas, Texas. Had a lot of fun, met a lot of really cool people. So his question is, who gets more touchdowns in 2019, Jacobs or Richard? This is a really interesting question. I think Jalen Richard is actually going to have an underappreciated year. I mean, the guy led the team last year in receptions with 68, third on the team in carries, but I'm going to go with Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs is around that 8 touchdown mark, 7 to 8 touchdown mark total. I think Richard's probably only around 3 or 4. Jeff Rogers, one of my most loyal watchers, so shout out to you, Jeff. Mitch, are you good with Trent Brown moving to right tackle after we gave him all that money, or prefer him protecting Carr's blind side? Am I okay with it? No. Am I going to deal with it? Yeah, because I'm going to hope that John Gruden, Mike Mayock, and the Raiders know what they're doing. What I'm going to try to say is I'm going to try to be optimistic and say that maybe Colton Miller has looked really good, and they're saying, okay, from a team standpoint, we're the best with Colton on the left and Trent Brown on the right. But paying a right tackle $16.5 million, making him the highest paid tackle in the NFL, and he's not even going to protect our quarterback's blind side, from that aspect, I don't really like the move. But I'm going to hope that John Gruden and Mike Mayock know a lot more than I, and I hope that they can protect Derek Carr. And if at the end of the year Derek doesn't get sacked and our offensive line looks like the way that it did in 2017, 2016, all thumbs up here. Go to Facebook now, because again, you guys can watch us on YouTube and you can watch us on Facebook. So Christopher, I'm looking at you. What do you think about the defensive lineman from the Jets? Which defensive lineman from the Jets? Leonard Williams. What about Leonard Williams? He's a talented player. That's why he got drafted really high. I believe, 6th overall when he did. Big dude out of USC. Really talented. I think he's a talented player and probably would be a starter on our team. So, Christopher, hopefully that answers your question. And I got a question for everybody who's watching right now. What city do you live in? I currently live in Dallas, Texas, and I had the opportunity to meet a whole bunch of amazing people over the weekend. People who I never even thought lived in Texas, and then you go, you have some drinks, and all of a sudden you're a friend of them. Also, I want to give a special shout out to East Coast Nation Podcast. I did a podcast with them this weekend. They literally are in the exact same city that I went to college in, and I'm kind of upset I never grabbed a beer with them. So next time I'm in Hackettstown, New Jersey, if anybody's in New Jersey, we can go grab a beer together. But what city do you live in? I'm looking right down now in the comments section here. We'll wait for a few of them to roll in. Somebody says Illinois. I don't know if that's a city. El Monte, Hurricane. Is that a real place? Inglewood. Are these real places? Lake Esnor? Oh, boy. Oh, there's a lot of interesting names here in the comment section. Norfolk, Virginia. What city do you live in, Raider Nation? Let's keep spreading the love. I want to give a special shout out to everyone who follows me on Twitter. And I want to give a special shout out to these people because, again, I met these people over the weekend. So Raider Shark, Johnny Boy, got to meet you. Also, New Kung Fu Kenny, and then NZ Raider. Make sure you guys take a screenshot of this, tweet it out on Twitter, tag me in it, Mitchell Renz 365. Let's keep growing the only nation. Make sure you subscribe to the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube, youtube.com/Raiders Report. And I'm going to take a sip here of my drink because staying hydrated is important. Also, it's important for you to get all your Raiders news and rumors. So make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/Raiders Report. More questions? You ready? Make sure you're using that hashtag Raiders. Amber, girl, I don't know. Get a picture. Will Cable get all the credit? Our offense is badass. Get all the credit if our offense is badass. No, I think if there's a player who's going to get all the credit, it's probably going to be Derek's going to get most of it. I don't know if Tom Cable will get credit even if the offense is good. And I don't know if he deserves it. So, FC. Dennis Jones, my man, what's going on? Do you think that there is any area, offensive or defense, where we improve more on before the season starts, maybe by trade or cap casualty from another team? So do I think that there's an area where we can improve on offense or defense? I think our offense is kind of set. The fact that we went out and got Richie Incognito, I think the offensive line is pretty much set. Maybe tight end, but they seem to be really high on Darren Waller. I see a lot of reports that he's going to be the breakout player on offense. On defense, though, we can still improve. We can still improve, I think, on our linebacker core. I think that's probably one of the more weaker areas. And then, of course, defensive line can always get better if we can add a little bit more depth on the defensive end side of the ball. Sons of Al, my man, one of my most loyal watchers. People are sleeping on Raiders passing offense. We will be NFL top 5 in that category, or will Tom Cable destroy that? I don't think the Raiders are going to be a top 5 passing offense, and one of the reasons why I say that is because when you look at what the Raiders did at the end of last year, they actually started to run the football a little bit more. Then you go out and you draft Josh Jacobs. I think the Raiders are going to be a very balanced offense, or at least they're going to try to be a balanced offense. The Raiders made a lot of improvements on defense, but I still think the Raiders aren't a top half defense. I don't think so. And I think that the Raiders are going to try to keep that defense off the field. And the easy way to do that is by controlling the clock and actually running the football a little bit. I get that the NFL is a passing league and you add Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, but Tom Cable does want to run the football. And I think they're going to try to do that with Josh Jacobs. Cam's Cavy. Who gets interceptions, Conley or Joyner? How about this? Since this show is not about me, who's going to have more interceptions in 2019? Conley or Joyner? I want you to type C for Conley or type J for Joyner. If I'm going to put my money down on who's going to have more interceptions, I'm going to go with Conley just based on the cornerback position. I also had a bold prediction that Conley is going to lead the NFL in interceptions this year. So last year the NFL leader, I believe, had 7. So I guess I almost have to go with Conley. Also Cam, get a picture. Jose Ubali. Oh, I hope that's hopefully how they pronounce it. All I have a comment is they do. Now, that's on producer Alicia apparently. So everyone yell at Alicia. So I want you to type Alicia in the comment section because apparently they do, which I have no idea. So Patrick, over under on amount of interceptions our secondary will have. Renz 13, that would be winner, winner, chicken dinner for us, or a disappointment. Hashtag Raiders, hashtag Bo knows. 13 interceptions on the year. I think the Raiders can actually do better than only 13 interceptions. I'm also wondering why it's winner, winner, chicken dinner. I know it's a saying, but personally I would much rather have steak over chicken, but that's just me. Patrick, get a picture. You know who does have a picture? Nate. And you know what, Nate? I appreciate it. Any chance Kumbinda and Connie crack the starting lineup this year at some point, and you are currently in Oroville, California. So shout out to you. I've never been to California. Hopefully that changes this year. I think Coney has a good shot of making the team. Kumbinda, I think he had a pretty good rookie season, but if I have to really think about what I think Coney could do, I mean, I was really surprised he went undrafted. And I think if there's a certain player who's a sleeper on defense, especially the linebacker position, I would probably take Tevin Coney over Jason Kumbinda. Going over now to Facebook. Hi, Facebook. Will Raiders have a top 10 offense? Who will have best overall offense? If I had to say what team's going to have the best offense in the NFL, I'll start there first. I will say the New Orleans Saints. That's probably the route I would go. And do I think the Raiders will have a top 10 offense? Yards? No. Hoping for points? I'll keep my fingers crossed on that. Now, I got a question from Twitter, and I got a question from my man, Andy McNamara, okay? So, would you rather? So, I want everyone to be able to participate in this. I don't know about you, but I love a good old would you rather. Would you rather in 2014 NFL Draft Challenge, all right? You take Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo, okay? So, everyone who's thinking, okay, I want you to type Carr or Jimmy G. So, would you rather have Derek Carr or Jimmy G, and who is the better quarterback? So I'll give you a comparison right now. So I want you to be able to look at what's on screen here, check it out, tell me what you guys are thinking. So completion percentage, Carr, 62.8, which is, I think pretty good overall. And then, you're looking at Jimmy Garoppolo. But when you really consider what these guys have done in their entire career, sure, Derek has better numbers, and Jimmy's 8-2 in his career, but Jimmy Garoppolo really hasn't played all that much. So when I really think about who's the better quarterback, it's a tough one for me, which is exactly why I'm going to ask everyone who's watching right now. So who's the better quarterback? Type C for Carr or type G for Garoppolo? I think when you look at it from top to bottom, I think Carr's had a better career. He's also played longer. Jimmy, though, I think is also that quarterback that was product of a Patriots team. He played 5 really solid games, and now everybody's in love with Jimmy Garoppolo. So I want you guys to be commenting below. I'm looking down here. I figured it was Carr all day, right? I figured I'd see a bunch of Carrs. And Jimmy G, small sample size. I get you. I'm seeing a lot of C's for Carr. So now I'm going to ask you another question, Raider Nation. How many games would the Raiders win with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback? So I want you to think about this, all right? We're going to have some fun today. How many games would the Raiders win with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback? So take the exact team that they have. Antonio Brown, you got Trent Brown, you got Tyrell Williams, and you got the defense. How many games would the Raiders win? 0. You're telling me they would win 0 games, Joseph. Okay. John says 6. Mr. Tyrell says 5. Gary Gonzalez says 7 or 8. Rax says 4. Alex says 1. And Nate says 5. Somebody else says -5. I'll take the over on that. All right, so I asked you that question. So why don't I bring up this question? How many games would the 49ers win with Derek Carr at quarterback? So take the exact same team that the 49ers have. How many games would they win with Derek Carr? How about that? I'm seeing 0. Okay. -1 and 17. From Damian Flores. Interesting. Richie Rich says 10. Unknown says 8. Savior says 9. I'm seeing some 12s. Jose says 17. Bold. Richard Renz. Don't know who that is. That's 10. Eric Strong says 8. Amber says 8. So you guys are saying Derek Carr with the 49ers would be better than Jimmy Garoppolo with the Raiders. It's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. All right, guys. Make sure you subscribe. YouTube.com/Raiders Report, the #1 Raiders channel here on YouTube. Make sure you guys are always interacting with me at Mitchell Renz 365. And if you want to know where I got my hat, it's at Only One Nation. Check them out on IG and Twitter. I can maybe send you guys a link, but that's two Chucky heads. People are talking. Also, speaking of people are talking, I got this question the other day on Twitter, and I wish I remember who sent it to me. So if you remember who sent it to me, tweet at me. That way I know. He asked me, is Calvin Johnson returning? So if you don't know the whole story on Calvin Johnson, he retired from the NFL in 2015, and essentially he said that he would return to the NFL if the Lions paid back his $1 million bonus, okay? So they made him pay back a $1 million bonus back when, and Johnson said the only way to get me back is to put that money back in my pocket. So then this guy came and said, oh, well, the Raiders, Derek Carr, Calvin Johnson, Raiders, they're connected. So Megatron did say that he wanted to play with Derek Carr back in 2017. That's back in 2017, and I don't think Calvin Johnson's going to come back to the Raiders. And I would make the argument that you could say that Calvin Johnson could be the most physically gifted wide receiver ever. I mean, you talk about height, you talk about speed. Calvin Johnson did a lot of incredible things. So just imagine this depth chart. Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, and then Calvin Johnson, all lining up for Derek Carr. I mean, J.J. Nelson stretching the field. You have Marcel Aitman. Sure, Hunter Renfro's probably going to be end up slot somewhere. But Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, Calvin Johnson, come on. If that's not one of the most entertaining wide receiver depth charts you've ever seen, I don't know what I have to do here on the show. So I'm going to ask everyone right now, Tyrell Williams or Calvin Johnson, who's the better wide receiver right now? I want you to type TW for Tyrell Williams or CJ for Calvin Johnson. Better wide receiver right now. So now you got to think, all right? Calvin hasn't played since 2015. So who's the better wide receiver right now? TW for Tyrell Williams or CJ for Calvin Johnson. If you type MR for Mitchell Renz, I'd be all about it. Make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/Raiders Report, the #1 Raiders channel here on YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your family, spread the word, because there is only one nation and we need to continue to grow the nation, especially on YouTube. youtube.com/Raiders Report. Let's get into some more questions now here on our live Q&A. This one's from Gary Gonzalez. Gary, thank you for using hashtag Raiders. And if you want to get on the show, make sure you use hashtag Raiders in the comments section. Do you think Markel Lee will break out since he is wearing the number 52, or is 52 just a number? Well, 52 is actually, in fact, just a number, in case you're wondering that. But Markel Lee's also a player I've talked about here on the show about being a potential breakout player. So Markel Lee last year played at 250 pounds. This year he's down to 238. The reason why he's down to 238 is because Paul Gunther was like, Markel, you want to succeed in the AFC West, the division with the best quarterbacks? You want to succeed in the NFL in today's game? You need to be able to cover the pass. So last year, he really struggled last year against the pass. So the thought is that he'd be able to drop some weight and then be able to cover wide receivers, tight ends, running backs a little bit better. Do I think Markel Lee could have a better year, a breakout year? Fingers crossed. The fact that he's dropping the weight and he's doing the right things, I think that's ultimately a really, really good sign. But if you guys want to weigh in on this one as well, I wouldn't be upset about it whatsoever. Ooh, look at this. I see a nice little super chat. If you guys want a super chat, it's an easier way to get on the show. How many records does DC need to break to stay on the team? 2 of the 4 possible this year, or what stats will he need? I honestly think Derek Carr could break all 4 stats that I talked about on my last episode. So if you missed my last show that I did on Derek Carr, I said that he could break 4 records. The passing career, passing yards, passing touchdowns, and some other stat that obviously I just don't remember. So watch the video. The only thing that matters this year for Derek Carr and the Oakland Raiders is W's. You could put up as many stats as you want. Heck, Derek Carr had a career year in yards last year. How many of you care? None of you. You know why? Because the Raiders went 4-12. If the Raiders make the playoffs this year, Derek's staying. Guaranteed. If they go 9-7 and it's close, I don't know. I don't know if that's what I'm going to want to keep around. When you add as much talent as what the Raiders did on offense this year, the only stat that matters is a W. That's it. So Dylan sends me career yards, touchdowns, single season yards, and single season touchdowns. Go give Dylan a follow on Twitter at DTip, but don't Google it. I'm telling you, don't Google it. All right, this one's from Big Hippo Music and Country Music We Trust. That's a mouthful. So is DTip. True or false? 4 rookies start. Where? Offense? Probably not. Defense? Better chance. On defense, Clelin, Abram. I guess I'm going to go false. All right. False. True or false? So what do you guys think? Type T for true. Type F for false. Maybe shout. What am I shouting here? Okay. Bunch of super chats. Make sure you guys are super chatting. Also, I read what people send me here in the inners of Chat Sports. All right, Bobby Millette, what you got for me, my man? When do they announce who will be on Hard Knocks? So I actually heard something the other day that apparently the Lions are the front runner to be on Hard Knocks. And if the Lions are on Hard Knocks, out of all the teams that have the possibility, Hard Knocks is failing. They should just cancel the show. I mean, if the Oakland Raiders aren't on Hard Knocks in 2019, I don't know what the NFL, I don't know what HBO is doing. Like, the Oakland Raiders are by far the most entertaining team. Vontez Burfict, Richie Incognito. Like, what more do you need? I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. But, Bobby, when do they announce it? It's normally already announced, but apparently since this is the 100th year of the NFL, which I don't know who's doing the math on that one, they're trying to wait a little bit, so hopefully it's before this season starts. But at this point, man, I got no idea. All right, I got a little bit of a favor to ask. Tag me in your IG story watching the Raiders Report, and I'm going to share it, okay? So I want you guys to take a screenshot whenever you feel like doing it throughout the entire show. If you want to do it now, it probably would make the most sense personally. Tag me in it on IG at Mitchell Renz 365, and I will share 100% of everyone who tags me in it. Can you do that? Ready? Cheers to y'all. And cheers to everyone who subscribes to the Oakland Raiders Report here on YouTube, youtube.com/Raiders Report. Make sure you guys are always interacting with me on IG and on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. And I get it. There's a lot of questions right here on YouTube and on Facebook, and I'm not going to be able to get to them all. So if I missed your question, hit me up at Mitchell Renz 365. Let's get into some more YouTube questions from Joseph Mendoza. Which Raiders defense do you think is better, 2016 or 2019? I'm going to go with 2016 because that defense at least got us to the playoffs. Like, I understand Derek was great, but that defense doesn't get talked about, I think, nearly enough. And when I say that, it's because Derek didn't even throw for 4,000 yards. Sure, he was a lot more efficient, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, but that defense actually played pretty well. So I haven't seen the 2019 defense yet, and the Raiders made a lot of improvements on defense, but we were also really bad last year. I mean, we were ranked dead last in terms of points given up, so the improvements are there, and I think the Raiders defense is young, and there's a lot of upside, but I'll probably still take the 2016 defense. I mean, this might hurt your ears, but Khalil Mack, he's pretty good. Oh, another super chat from my man Blake. Blake, much appreciated. Hashtag Raiders. Mitch, that hat looks too big for your head. To be honest, guys, I don't really wear a lot of hats. It's also over my headpiece right now, but if you guys like the hat, I might be able to hook you up with some. So slide in my DMs if you like the hat. I can tell you maybe how to get one. What do you guys think over at Only One Nation? Think maybe hook some people up with some hats? Only if I get some money out of it. James Moneygold, who will be starting at linebackers, and will they last the season? Well, James, if I had to guess, I'm going to go Tahir Whitehead, Brandon Marshall, Vontez Burfict. Might see Markel Lee slide in there too. I think those are going to be the top 4, though, linebackers that play the most for the Raiders this season. If you don't like that, comment below who you guys think are going to be the 4 most heavily used Raiders on defense. Linebackers. Gabriel Torres, words as I can't think. Do you think Carr, like me, Do you think Carr, like me, that with any early season success, Carr will get his confidence back and have an MVP season? Are you saying your confidence is down? I'm not really sure. I'm hoping Derek Carr gets his confidence back. I really do. I think confidence is a thing that we don't talk about nearly enough. And I think it's kind of been drained out of him ever since he got hit in 2016. Ever since that injury, he's been a little bit skittish. But Gabriel, if you need confidence, if you need help with the ladies, I know a guy who can help you. It's definitely not Jimmy. It's his Twitter handle's at DTip. D_tip. This guy, he tips. Lion Ball, speaking of tips, Mitch, you haven't shouted out to me. Laugh out loud, it's cool. Lion Ball. I mean, right here. You ready for your 10 seconds of fame? Take a screenshot. Tweet it at me. If anybody else wants a shout out, type in S. I might be able to give some shout outs. All right, Julius Smith. Do you think we'll have enough D-line depth for a NASCAR package? All right, so I'll be honest. I hate the term NASCAR package. The only reason why I say it is because the Giants made it popular, And do I think that there's enough depth? No. I don't think there's enough depth yet to be able to just cycle in guys that we're ultimately just really confident in. I just need a defensive line that's better than last year. And last year was really bad, Julius. So to answer your question, no, I don't think it's deep enough for a NASCAR package. Manny Bruce Salvador, hashtag Space Raiders. If Beast Mode comes back, would he be the starting running back? No. There's a guy named Josh Jacobs who the Raiders drafted 24th overall. Like, I think if Marshawn came back, I don't think he gets more touches than Jalen Richard, because I think Jalen Richard and Josh Jacobs is a better combo than Josh Jacobs and Marshawn Lynch. Chris Warren, fingers crossed. If you guys want to know his weight, DM me. And then Doug Martin's there. Like, I think they brought back Doug Martin for a reason, because they didn't want to bring back Marshawn Lynch. So hopefully that answers your question. Speaking of questions, I want you guys to ask me something personal. So I think one of the greatest things that we have here is an awesome relationship where we can share things, and some of the DMs that you guys told me about your personal secrets, I was just like, wow, could not even believe some of the stuff that I saw. So ask me something personal. I will 100% answer it with the utmost honesty. I promise you. So throw it in the comments section. Still use hashtag Raiders. And then producer Alicia, she'll bring some of these up. Anthony, what do we got? Win-loss total will be the same regardless of doing Hard Knocks. I don't really think it matters all that much. I think the Raiders, the least thing that they're worried about is trying to create controversy or trying to create headlines. Like, you don't give a coach 10 years, $100 million if you're worried about that. You don't sign an NFL analyst like Mayock, make you GM. You don't go out and get Antonio Brown. You don't get Vontaze Burfict. You don't get Richie Incognito if you're worried about Hard Knocks. You're worried about creating headlines. The Raiders will be fine. The Raiders have enough players, enough personality to be probably the most entertaining thing on television. Like, I've been thinking about canceling my cable, which I probably should all cancel cable, fire cable. But if Hard Knocks comes on, I might just buy HBO just to watch that, because that'll be hella entertaining. Sin City Raider, if we don't make the playoffs this year, will the Raiders trade Carr and get a quarterback next year? I think if the Raiders don't make the playoffs, I mean, Carr's definitely going to be on the hot seat. I think it's hard not to be. I mean, Carr's never won a playoff game. Sure, he got the Raiders to the playoffs, but he still has never won a playoff game. And what has he done besides 1 year? He's 32-46 in his career. Yeah, he's dealt with a lot, like 4 different. This is his first year where he doesn't have either a new offensive coordinator or a new head coach. I like Derek, but this is the year they put a lot around him. And in the NFL, man, got to show out. Also, Sin City, get a picture. Raider Boy 92, hey, man, what's going on? I just got another picture from you, so I'll get that one up on IG soon. Any possibility of Trent Brown being moved back to left tackle during the season? Sure, there's a chance. If Colt Miller's bad, there's an absolute chance. Also, injuries happen, which we saw last year. If Colt Miller gets hurt, I think you could definitely see Trent Brown slide back over. There is a part of me, though, that's a little bit worried that the Raiders moved Trent Brown this early, because they already see that maybe he's a little bit overrated. Just saying. Raider Tory. Wait, I gotta do it this way. Okay. Mitch, who is your most loyal watcher? You know what, Raider Tory, just for your sake, you're my most loyal watcher. And if you're a really loyal watcher, you'll tell all your friends to subscribe, and you'll also take a screenshot, and you're going to tweet this out, you're going to put it on IG, and we're going to spread the show. Can you do that? Cool. Mr. Robertson, 22. All right, what do we got here? Hashtag Raiders. Appreciate it for the hashtag. 4 rookies. Ferrell, Trayvon, Isaiah. Heard he's been balling so far. Abram and Josh Jacobs. All right, I think Jacobs is going to start. Yes, I agree with you there. Ferrell, yes. Trayvon, I hear, is still battling it out. The only guy who I can say for certain is going to start on defense, Abram, Ferrell. But it's the thing, like, Ferrell, I think, is going to start, but he's also working with the second team. I'm not confident saying 4 rookies. But Mr. Robertson, 22, much appreciated for you throwing it in the comments section. And make sure everyone's still using that hashtag Raiders to get your show on my show. Get your comment on my show on Facebook or on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, salute to you. Make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/Raiders Report. If you're not already subscribed to the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube, tell your friends. Tell that random homeless guy that you pass every day to work, or tell some guy that you work with. I don't know. D-tip. Subscribe, youtube.com/Raiders Report, the #1 Raiders channel here on YouTube. I need to take a sip. AFC West, best quarterbacks in the NFL. So what I want to talk about here is if you remember in my rumors section, we talked a little bit about the AFCs and having the best quarterbacks. Now, I think this piece was interesting because Patrick Mahomes, Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr, Joe Flacco, right? Like, this is why the Raiders were ranked to have the best quarterbacks in the AFC West. Now, the way that I want this part of the live show to go is I want this to be the most interactive part of the entire show. So I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of options here. I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of weigh-ins, and I want you guys to continually interact with me, okay? So, Patrick Mahomes, Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr, Joe Flacco. These are the quarterbacks that are in the AFC West, and it's one of the reasons why the Raiders were ranked as the best quarterbacks, or the AFC West has the best quarterbacks. So here are my AFC West quarterback rankings. I got Patrick Mahomes, I got Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr, and Joe Flacco. Now I'm going to take a sip, and I'm going to let you guys soak that in. How does it make you feel? Does it hurt your feelings? I hope not. That's just, when I'm here on the show, I've been called a homer. I've been called a hater. I'm just doing my job. This is how I'm ranking the AFC West quarterbacks. So what I want you guys to do right now, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, rank the AFC West quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, Phillip Rivers, Carr, and Flacco. I'm going to look down here in the comments section, and I'm going to start shouting some people out who rank these quarterbacks. Mahomes, Rivers, Carr, and Flacco. Now, in the article, it said that the AFC West had the best quarterbacks. So what I want to do is I'm going to break down my rankings for every single division, and then we're going to figure out who actually does have the best division amongst, or best quarterbacks in their division. Does that make sense? Cool. AFC East quarterback rankings. I have Tom Brady as number 1. Tuck rule, tuck that. Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, and Josh Rosen. I can promise you that the AFC West does not have the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. Tom Brady, Darnold, Allen, Rosen. If you guys don't like those rankings, continue to comment below. My AFC North quarterback rankings: Ben Roethlisberger, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, and Andy Dalton. Okay, so soak those in. If you think Baker should be ahead of Ben, I get it. I just know what Ben's done. He's done it for a little bit longer. But if you play fantasy football, I'd have Baker ranked higher than Ben. AFC South. This is interesting. Andrew Luck, Deshaun Watson, Nick Foles, Marcus Mariota. Do you guys agree with my rankings? Should Andrew Luck be higher than Watson? Nick Foles, I think, is better than Marcus Mariota. I've seen enough of Marcus Mariota to just be like, all right, man, I'm good on that. Raider Brandon says Carr, Rivers, D-Tip, Mahomes. Love it, Raider. All right, so which AFC division has the best quarterbacks? If you think it's the AFC West, I want you to type W for West. If you think it's East, it's not, type E. If you think it's the AFC North, type N for North. If you think it's the South, type S for South. Which AFC division has the best quarterbacks? I also realized that I kind of screwed up, and if I would have put SNEW, I could have said what's new and have it actually made sense for the first time in Chat Sports history. So, not very happy with me there. All right, but AFC, let's look at the NFC now. This is a really interesting division when it comes to quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Kyler Murray. If Kyler Murray lives up to the hype, really interesting. Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo has been 8-2, and Russell Wilson's the highest paid quarterback, highest paid player in the NFL. AFC West, maybe they have the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. But let's look at the NFC East. Oh, God. Oh, ew. Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, Noodle Arm, Eli Manning, and TBD. Because I don't know if it's Dwayne Haskins. I don't know if it's Colt McCoy. I don't know if it's Alex Smith. Probably not Alex Smith. It could be Case Keenum. The Washington Redskins. I think the only team that the Washington Redskins have better quarterback situation is the Denver Donkeys. NFC North quarterback rankings. Aaron Rodgers, no surprise. Then it gets tough for me, man. Like Kirk Cousins, Mitchell Trubisky, Matthew Stafford. You guys know I don't like Matthew Stafford. 0-3 in the playoffs. He can chug a beer better than Rodgers, though. I'll give him that. Mitchell Trubisky, I just don't trust anybody with the name Mitchell. And then Kirk Cousins, I think Kirk is pretty good. But I also don't know if Mitchell Trubisky is all that great either. Like, sure, he got his team to the playoffs, but then he also lost. And I think the Bears team all around him is actually pretty solid. Now, the NFC South has a great argument to be the best division for quarterbacks. I mean, you got Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Jameis Winston. I mean, Ryan and Cam both won an MVP, 2015, 2016. Drew Brees has never won one, but I think Drew Brees is still a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And then Jameis Winston was a former number 1 overall pick. The NFC South. So I showed you all the NFC divisions. So which division has the best quarterbacks? W for West, E for East, N for North, S for South. If you want to know who I think, out of all the NFC divisions, I want you to hit me up on IG or Twitter, at Mitchell Renz 365. Somebody says, screw the NFC. Well, guess what? My show. Too bad. I want to know, so I'm seeing a lot of S for South. I'm seeing an F, or an N from Frignado. Dead Raider says West. Raider Boy says South. Mr. Tyrell says South. John Williams says North. Monster Money Maynova says South. So, also, if you guys see those links, make sure you click on that because that's also my IG and my Twitter. Which NFC division best for quarterbacks? So I showed you NFC and I showed you AFC. So which division now has the best quarterbacks out of all 8 divisions in the NFL? Which division has the best quarterbacks? If you still think it's the AFC West, type AFC West. It's pretty simple in the comment section. So if you're watching on YouTube, watch it on Facebook, anywhere that you see this video, I want you to type below which division has the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. As Alicia's pointing to the screen, subscribe, youtube.com/Raiders Report, the #1 Raiders channel here on YouTube, and make sure you guys interact with me on IG and Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. Dead Raider, you're up. Will our defense rank top 10 in 2019? Dead Raider, I'm going to say no. I would love to say yes. The Raiders have made a lot of improvements, okay? They really have made a lot of improvements, but it's really, really difficult to go bottom 5 to top 10. It just doesn't happen like that, and I think our concentration, Raiders put a lot of concentration on offense. Now, if you ask me, maybe in 2020, 2021, you continue to build this defense, you continue to build a certain mold or a certain scheme that you're trying to go for, which Gruden and Mayock are doing. It's kind of Patriot-esque to me a little bit, but a top 10 defense in 2019, that's a little bit too rich for me. What else do we got here? Make sure you guys subscribe, youtube.com/Raiders Report. I need to stay hydrated, so give me 1 sec here. It's my throat. It's killing me. Screaming too much over the weekend at Matito's. Why do you think we'll be more balanced run-type team this year? Every position on offense seems to be all pass catchers, tight end, running back, wide receiver, slot. I can't see us being a run team, Renz. Well, the reason why I think they're going to be a run team is because they drafted Josh Jacobs, okay, first round. They ran the ball 49% of the time last year out of the run power scheme. And you go out, you get Richie Incognito in the offseason. Also, a lot of the coaches on the inners, it's like, I'm trying to think. Tom Cable said multiple times they're going to try to run the football a little bit more. They're also going to try to keep the defense off the field. And I get it. You add AB, you add Tyrell Williams. But I don't think any team wants to just be super pass heavy. Unless maybe you're like Patrick Mahomes and you're the Chiefs. I think when you look at the Raiders' entire team from top to bottom, when the Raiders were the most successful is when they were the most balanced. And think about the years when Derek Carr threw for 32 touchdowns in 2015, 2016, 28 touchdowns. Like, they didn't have a lot of yards. They were a very balanced team. I think for the Raiders, that's where they need to go. And I think any coach would say we would want to be balanced. So that's ultimately why I think so. Now, again, I'm going to revert back to an old rumor that I did around Rodney Hudson being the best offensive or the best pass blocking center in the NFL. Okay, the best pass blocking center in the NFL. PFF rated him as the best pass blocking center. Oh my Lord, I can't talk. For the 4th straight year. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we do a lot of talking here about, Tom Cable. We do a lot of talking here about the Raiders' offensive line because they need to be able to protect Derek Carr better. Now, when you look at the entire sample size of what Derek Carr, I think, has had to deal with, and you look at the Raiders' overall offensive line depth chart, you can see from their left side all the way to their right side, they have a pretty solid offensive line. So when I think about Colt Miller, I think about Gabe Jackson, I think about Richie Incognito, Rodney Hudson, Trent Brown, I think their starting offensive line, if everything goes well, is pretty good, right? So, I mean, Colt Miller, high upside. Richie Incognito, can you toughen up Colt Miller for me a little bit? And you got Rodney Hudson, Best pass blocking center in the league, Gabe Jackson, Trent Brown. Really, really solid. And that offensive line needs to be able to improve on the numbers. In 2018, where that team gave up 52 sacks, which I'm telling you right now is not what we're trying to do. So, when you consider that, you need to be able to protect Derek Carr, ultimately. So, I want to show this graphic real quick here. AFC West running back rankings, okay? So, it looks like we're going to dive into this. It's got Melvin Gordon at number 1, Josh Jacobs at 2, Phillip Lindsay at 3, and Damian Williams at number 4. So, I wrote down the AFC West running back rankings, and I think Melvin Gordon's the best running back in the division. I do, but then I also consider Josh Jacobs, he's the second best running back in the division. Then it's Phillip Lindsay, and then Damian Williams for me. But I want to know from everybody watching, I want you guys to break it down, okay? But there's the running back rankings, and then, there's a lot of other aspects of football that go into it, like the passing game. We need to be able to protect Derek Carr. So 52 sacks allowed last year, 28th in the NFL. When the Raiders were at their best, 2016, 2017, they just simply weren't giving up a lot of sacks, and that's really where I think the Raiders need to go to. So when you look at the entire offensive line, I want to know from everybody who's watching right now, who is the Raiders' worst offensive lineman? We're talking about best? No, I want to know worst offensive lineman. Starters. Only the starters. So Colt Miller, Richie Incognito, Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson, or Trent Brown. Who is the Raiders' worst offensive lineman? I'm going to show it to you one more time. Colt Miller, Richie Incognito, Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson, or Trent Brown. Who is the Raiders' worst offensive lineman? And I'm going to look down here in the comments section. Somebody says Colt Miller with a C. Okay, John. Somebody else says FC. Jeremy, you're way ahead of me, and I love where you're at right now. Miller time. Somebody says Gabe Jackson. I'm seeing a lot of Colton Millers. Yep, it's looking like it's a lot of Colton Millers. But Jeremy, you're one of my most loyal watchers, so you knew it was coming, right? Anytime we talk offensive line, fire Tom Cable. So if I can get a type FC in the comments section while I hydrate, because I need to be able to get some of this in me, because we got a few more minutes left of the show. Make sure you guys using hashtag Raiders get on the show. But most importantly right now, I need to see some FCs in the comment section. And we're going to go to Jaime. I think I got that right. Jaime, is Tom Cable in the hot seat for 2019? Yes. Tom Cable better be in the hot seat, on the hot seat. I just don't know how this dude still has a job. I don't see how for 12 straight years you can be bad at your job and yet still be employed. I mean, if that's all it takes, Chat Sports, hope you're not watching right now, but I'm going to coast for the next 12 years and see if I can still bring in a paycheck. Just being honest. Ronnie, what's up, my man? Will Incognito be the best player added for the price the Raiders paid compared to any other free agent addition? Could he be? Sure. I mean, you're paying him 1 year, $1.03 million. And if we get a Pro Bowl guard, which he was in 2015, 2017, you can at least make the argument. I'm trying to think of another Raiders player more bang for your buck right now. And to be honest, not many of them coming to mind. So we're going to go to Patrick Sways. Patrick, get a picture. What was up with our team and kickers? We hire, we fire, higher than traded. The same guy last year. What's your take on our guy now, Renz? I like Daniel Carlson. I've been pro Daniel Carlson. I think kicking is one of those positions where it's all about confidence. Carlson was one of the best kickers when you're looking at Auburn. And then he just had a bad run-in. He had like one bad game for the Vikings. They cut him. And now he comes over to the Raiders. And when he was with the Raiders, he was pretty good. I believe he was 15-16 last year in terms of field goals. So Carlson was really good in college. And if he can continue that success going forward, I ultimately like Carlson, but I've been saying that now. I'm going to say for like a solid 5 or 6 months. Make sure you guys subscribe to youtube.com/Raiders Report, the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube. I've been saying that now for about a year and a half. And make sure you guys continue to interact with me on IG and on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. All right, another rumor we're getting into is Doug Martin starting at running back. So I talked about this a little bit on my rumors show, and I do not believe that Doug Martin is starting. Some guy who I am not really sure if he's even a real person. He writes for Touchdown Wire. That's probably why you write for Touchdown Wire. Came out and said that Doug Martin's going to be the starting running back for the Oakland Raiders. Then he rated Doug Martin the 31st best running back in the NFL, ahead of Leonard Fournette. I don't think that's true at all. So what I really wanted to talk about is because the reason why this is ridiculous is because Josh Jacobs is the starting running back for the Oakland Raiders, right? So Josh Jacobs is the guy you should have featured in your article, not Doug Martin. Doug Martin is not going to start for the Raiders. Sure, he might split some time. He had 172 carries last year. He had 723 yards, led the team. But he's not the starting running back for the Raiders. They drafted Josh Jacobs for a reason. John Gruden came out and said the main reason why they added Doug Martin was to, help out Josh Jacobs. So, since he ranked the running backs, I want to rank Josh Jacobs and where I think he ranks among the AFC West running backs. I think Melvin Gordon is the clear-cut number 1 running back in this division. I do. But I think Josh Jacobs is number 2, Phillip Lindsay is 3, Damian Williams is 4. Now, I think Phillip Lindsay was a great story. Royce Freeman is also a pretty solid running back who I liked coming out of Oregon. Damian Williams, I think, is talented, but I think he benefited from a scheme. I didn't know if I should put Carlos Hyde on here also, but I think in terms of just overall talent, Josh Jacobs is the second best running back in the AFC West. So, who's the best running back in the AFC West? Are you guys going to stay homers? Are you going to say Josh Jacobs? Or are you going to go with Melvin Gordon, who's actually been one of the better running backs in the entire NFL? So, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, who is the best running back in the AFC West? And I got one more question for you, okay? Because I figure it's going to be between Melvin Gordon and Josh Jacobs. So, I want you to think about it long term, okay? Long term. Which running back would you rather have the next 3 years? Okay? Running back for the next 3 years. I want you to type M for Melvin Gordon. I want you to type J for Josh Jacobs. And if you want to know which running back I would rather have for the next 3 years, I want you to hit me up on IG at Mitchell Renz 365. So one more time. Which running back would you rather have the next 3 years? If you're watching this live, this video is going to continue to loop through. I'm going to go into the comments section. I'm going to interact with you. And if I missed any of your questions, please, please, please tweet it at me or hit me up on IG at Mitchell Renz 365, and I'll make sure that I'll answer your questions. So Raider Nation, it's going to loop through, and I'll see you next week, Tuesday, live, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. Make sure you guys subscribe, youtube.com/Raiders Report. We are the #1 Raiders channel here on YouTube. What do I have in store for you today? I got a 6-pack of Raiders rumors that I am ready to crack open, and I'm starting it off first with Derek Carr. And is he the quarterback of the Raiders' future? I'm going to give this one 2 Chucky heads, and people are talking. Derek Carr, if you ask him, this one's 4 Chucky heads, believe it, baby. But guess what? This is my show, Derek. So, Derek sat down and he discussed his future with the Oakland Raiders, and he said that he kind of got annoyed with a lot of the rumors he heard this offseason around Kyler Murray, Drew Lock, Dwayne Haskins, and some other quarterbacks, because he said that there was a negative 47% chance that the Raiders were going to draft a quarterback. And when I think about Derek Carr, I think his best year was probably back in 2016 when he was an MVP candidate. Now, why am I giving this one only 2 Chucky heads? Because I've said it 100 times in the show, and it's literally why it says drink. 2019 is a prove-it year for Derek Carr. But if you ask Derek said this: we're not just planning for this year. I'm honestly going to be here a long time. So I hope that's okay with you guys. You have to get used to me. Now, Derek, I hope that you're here for a long time, because if you can give me 2015, 2016 Derek Carr, guess what? I'll take that every single year. Now, I think that you grew a lot as a man, and I think you grew a lot as a quarterback in 2018, dealing with, we'll say, the options that you had and dealing with a poor offensive line. The only reason why I'm a little